Okay, this is Easy Gates TRB Polytechnic, Easy Solutions. Let us go ahead with the problem solving and hope you get the right solutions. Okay, so finally we'll give you the complete list of problems and the corresponding solutions. Okay, as of now, we are also going through the fundamentals relevant to the problem so that everybody can listen and enjoy and learn the subject as it is. Okay, that's the intention. Next problem, that's from analog electronics. 1 minute. For the sake of visibility, let me move it little down. Yes, yes, that's a problem. Given a common emitter current gain, okay, so instead of giving straight away beta, he mentioned common emitter current gain. Okay, he mentioned anyway it's beta, so beta is given as 150. And base current of the BJT is given as 15 microamps. Also assume that the transistor is biased in forward active mode. There are four different states of operation: forward active, reverse active, cutoff, and saturation for any BJT. NPN or PNP. Calculate the collector and emitter current. Very simple. Okay, so it didn't mention what transistor it is, so you take a familiar NPN. That's your collector. Emitter, then base. So what is given to us is beta for the BJT is given as 150. It is an active state of operation, means its VCE greater than 0. Keeping the device collector more positive than emitter, keeping the device active. Yes, I only under active condition, only under active state of operation, it will obey the current laws, linear current laws. What are the linear current laws? I is equal to beta IB. One more, IE is equal to beta plus 1 times IB, or valid only under active state of operation. It's given anyway. So we can play with the beta. So depending on the data given. So given the base current is 15 microamps. And problem is only the collector current and emitter current. That's very easy. Yes. So what's a collector current? Since the device is active, the collector current will be beta times your IB. So what is beta given? 150. So 150 into 15, 150 into 15 microamps. Okay, so it's going to be 150 into 15 microamps, which is nothing but, so 15 into 15, 15 square will be 225. We confirm 150 into 10, 150, 150, 15 into 10. Okay, sorry, 15 into 10 and 15 into 5. So 225. Yes. So it's going to be 2250 microamps. So nothing but 2.25 milliamps. Yes. Yes, you need to manipulate this quickly. Yes. Only one option. Two options are there. I see. Okay, 2. Okay, only one option. That's all. Okay, problem is over. Okay, I see is 2.25 milliamps. Check this manipulation once because any mistake. So IC cannot be in micro. So I can eliminate option A and option D. So it's either 2.25 or 2.27 is it. So it cannot be. Okay, so then it is 2.25. Yes, the correct answer is option C. Okay, is the correct answer, but confirm with the IE. Okay, so yes, what is the IE then? IE is equal to, you can go by the KCL. You feel like IC and IB getting added. Okay, instead of going with this, the result is still same. I'm just adding the collector current and base current. What is the collector current? 2.25 milliamps. Okay, 2.25 milliamps, and put the base current in milliamps. In the milliamps, 0.015 milliamps is the base current in milliamps. Okay, so the result is going to be 2.015. It is, if there is a case, it is going to be 2 and 1 will become 6.5 milliamps. So this is rounded off to 2.27 milliamps. Yes, that's correct. Yes, C is correct in all aspects. That's a very simple, straightforward problem exploiting active state of operation of a BJT. Okay. Next. So that's from digital even parity check coded even parity check coded stream. Okay, so there is a transmitter, there is a receiver. You have to transmit the data only with even parity. Transmit the data. This is transmitter, this is receiver. Transmit the data with even parity means including the parity bit, we are going to transmit the data. So usually the parity bit will get added in the MSB. So you'll have a even parity bit. Along with that, you will get data bits. Okay, so we'll have a data bit and then one bit for the even parity. Okay, so including even parity bit, the whole data should be even. That's a logic. Okay, including even parity bit, the whole data, including parity bit. Okay, suppose if data bit is data size is 4 bits and the parity bit makes it what 1 bit, the total data you're going to have, you're going to send or going to transmit is going to become a 5-bit data. That 5-bit code, that's your code. He's calling it as a code. So the code is given. So in this case, instead of a 5-bit, it is how many bits? 7-bit code. So it's 0 1 0. Let me take the 0 as a parity bit. 1 0 0 0 0 0 1. I feel like this is a parity bit and this is my data. My data is even. So therefore the parity generated will be 0. So data is already even. Suppose if it is odd, I can make the parity bit 1 to make the whole data including parity bit as a even. So the data is already even. The parity bit is also even. So then there is no error is one conclusion. Yes, there is no error in your data. That's one perception. So what can be the better perception? We'll see. So there is no error. Odd number of errors are possible. Odd number of errors are possible. So there is no single error. Okay, so there is a single error means single error can be easily single bit error you have to feel. So single bit error can be easily detectable. That's a purpose of generating the parity bit and sending the parity bit along with the data. Okay, so receiver knows you are sending with the even parity. So it can detect the single bit error. There is a single bit error means no, this is not the right answer. There is no error. There is no error also wrong answer. There may be error. Okay, there may be error. 2-bit error may happen. Okay, right? So then either it is 0 error, odd number of errors are possible. That means errors like 1 error, 3 error. No, this is not the correct thing. Okay, so this is also wrong statement. Yes, 0 error or any even number of errors is possible. Yes, this is a good possibility. So in even parity, either you don't have any error or 2 bits already changed. 2-bit change may happen, but that is not detectable. Say for example, this is what I am transmitting. This is the code I am sending. Okay, so the parity bit doesn't change. Okay, if parity bit doesn't 2 bits. Okay, so this is the code I am sending transmitted. In the receiving end, I'm receiving this code, for example. For example, this 1 0 changed as 0 1. 2-bit change happened. 2-bit change happened. Rest of them are as it is. Now the code still looks what? Even. You can't detect the error. If the code received as it is, receiver will feel the code received is without error. So it will take for further processing. Okay, so this code will be taken granted. So that means the receiver will acknowledge there is a transmitter. Okay, I got the right code. I'll take this code granted. I will do further processing or storage. Okay, so a 2-bit error happens means or no error happens means receiver never knows. Okay, the error. So 0 error or any even number of errors happens means even number of errors means 2-bit change. Either 2-bit change. Okay, either 0-bit change means no error. 2-bit change, there is error. Or 4-bit change, 4 bits really changing their values. Zeros becomes 1, ones becomes what? 0 means. So we can't notice them. So that is the correct answer for this problem. So you should feel like even parity generator. Okay, there in the transmission end, along with the even parity, you are sending the data. Okay, yes, that's a simple and interesting parity generator problem. Okay, so along with the parity bit, you are sending the code in the transmission. Next problem. What is given? A sinusoidal signal is sampled at 8 kilohertz and quantized using 8-bit quantizer. The value of bit rate is okay. So what we have is, we have a signal, we have a sinusoidal signal, he said. Okay, this signal getting sampled by the sampler. What we have is, we have a sampler. Okay, that is nothing but a simple switch, that's all. So this is getting sampled at what frequency? Fs is given 8 kilohertz. That means you're going to get here how many means? 8,000 samples per second. That's what it means. In a common sense, it's 8,000 samples per second. So the sampler will produce, assuming it's obeying all the Nyquist sampling theorem and all. Okay, there is no aliasing and all. Okay, it's simply 8,000 samples. Okay. So for the given signal, whatever the analog signal you are giving, we get, this is a continuous signal, and what we are going to get is discrete analog signal you will get. Discrete analog signal you will get after sampling. And then you need to make your signal discrete digital signal by using a quantizer. That quantizer will be usually analog to digital converter. Okay, we'll do the quantization. That means we'll assign for every analog value a digital code. That's the process known as quantization. The one who is doing that, we call it as a quantizer. So that means what you're going to get, for example, assume this is my sinusoidal signal, and I'm going to get some samples for this. Means maybe the samples will be like this. It's analog samples only in a discrete time. That's all. That's how I'll get the samples. And this is an analog data. So for this analog data, I'm going to assign an 8-bit digital code. For every sample, I'm going to assign 8-bit digital code. Means then how many samples I have? 8,000 samples. And each sample by what bit data? 8-bit data. Then how many bit size I will get? So the problem is, what is the bit rate in the output? Bit rate only means how many bits you're getting in the output per second means. So the result is very simple. 8,000 samples into each sample with how many bits? 8 bits. So 8 bits. So 8,000 samples per second and 8-bit per sample. You have to go like this: 8,000 samples per second and 8-bit per sample. So the result you will get straight away as bit rate. Okay, sample will get cancelled. So many bits per second you will get. So 8 into 8 is going to be 64,000 bits per second will be your bit rate. Okay, yes, bits per second. Okay, so then this 1,000 will be taken as kilo. So 64 kilo bits per second. Bits per second. Okay, if you take this way, bits per second, then we call this as KBPS. KBPS. 64 KBPS. That's a bit rate. Okay, right answer is option D is the perfect answer for this problem. Okay, simple manipulation. Okay, so once you know what the sampler is doing and the quantizer is doing, quantizer assigning every analog data with the 8-bit code. Each sample will come with the 8-bit code. So 8,000 samples. Okay, each 8-bit means simple product of the two will be your answer, but put it carefully in the kilobits per second as given in the options. That's a simple logical problem. Next one. That's from control system. A single pair of roots, let me say, pair means roots you say, are on the imaginary axis of S plane. The impulse response and the stability. Okay, so that means it's a control system problem. So we have poles on imaginary. Hope you remember, left side belong to stable, right side belong to unstable, and j omega axis belong to marginally stable. So assuming I have plus J2 and minus J2 means such a system without any input, a square plus 4 it will be. Okay, so without any input will start producing sustained oscillation. So any marginally stable system is an oscillator. Any marginally stable system is an oscillator. That's it. Okay. So the stable system, the output will converge, whereas unstable system, never converge, unstable. And this is poles on j omega axis, it's marginally stable. Suppose if we have identical multiple poles on j omega axis, it is going to become unstable. You have to be a bit careful on this. So it's marginally stable. Only single pole pair marginally stable. Suppose if it is like this double, okay, pole pair, this is clearly an unstable system. Okay, right? That's extra information. Okay, so we have already answered the problem. What is that? A single pair of roots on the imaginary axis represents a marginally stable system. Any marginally stable system always known to produce sustained oscillation. So it's an oscillator. Oscillators are marginally stable system maybe. Okay, right? A problem can be raised for 1 mark. Yes. What is the right answer? Oscillators, oscillatory and marginally stable is the right answer. Okay, rest of the options, damped, sinusoidal and stable means it is converging oscillations. Exponentially decaying and stable also, damped, sinusoidal and stable also, both are same statements only. So B and C are the same, okay, category. And exponentially increasing and stable means exponentially increasing, okay, and stable. Okay, so that means it's also converging to stable. So that means three options saying it is stable. So definitely it is not a stable system. It is neither stable nor unstable. So that's a marginally stable category. So A is the best possible answer for this problem. That's easy. For the one who knows the concept, instantly will give the answer. As a formality, we'll go through the other options so that ensure that, okay, we are not committing any mistake. Then the final one, okay, for this video, transfer impedance in a two-port network is defined as a ratio of transfer impedance. So transfer impedance means what? Okay, so what we have is the output voltage V2, output port voltage V2 and its current I2, input port voltage V1 and its current I1. Minus. So he's talking about transfer impedance means we can say, for example, it's like is it 1 2 or is it 2 1? What is Z? Z is nothing but V by I. Here also Z is nothing but V by I. It's impedance parameter only. So then V by I means, so it's 1 and this is 2. Is it 1 2? Okay, is it 1 2? It's V by Z is nothing but V by I. 1 numerator, 2 denominator. 2 numerator, okay, 1 denominator. Maybe you can go for the Z parameter for any doubts. It's V1, V2 matrix that is equal to Z11, Z12, Z21, Z22. Then I1, I2, I1, I2 you will get. Okay, then what is the first equation itself for confirmation? It's Z11 plus Z11 what? I1 plus Z12 I2. So then Z11 also impedance, but referring only that same port. Okay, V1 I1 same port. Okay, so different port, input port, output port means Z12 will be yes V1 by I2. It's a correct perception. Take this granted. Okay, so this is what we call as transfer impedance. This is what Z12 and Z21 are known as transfer impedances. What about Z11 and Z22? Z11 and Z22 are the same port impedances. That means total impedance seen by the source connected in input port. It's a total impedance seen by, this is Z11 means total impedance seen by the input port. Z22 means total impedance seen by the output port. Okay, they are not transfer impedances. Okay, for the corresponding port, total impedances. Yes, what is that? Correct answer is about, for this problem, transfer impedance in a two-port network is defined as a ratio of voltage transform at one port to the current transform at another port. Any other voltage transform at one port to current. Okay, so 2 means V2I, V2I. So I can choose option A, but still have a thought about another one. Current transform at one port to current. No, current to current is not there. It's about current and voltage. So it's voltage to current only relationship. So current transform at one port to voltage transform at another port means it is nothing but your trans conductance. It's not trans impedance. Okay, so therefore this is your GM and this is your transfer. Like GM is a trans conductance, we have a name, and for trans impedance we don't have a special name. Okay, so we take Z12 and Z21. So the right answer is option A. Hope it is clear. Yes. So let me conclude this session. We'll meet with one more video. Okay, thank you. Thanks for watching.